I don't hear anything in my...
Yeah, I haven't started the intro. Just giving her a buffer, just because it'll show me we're live here, but it doesn't happen as quickly. Like,
Right,
it
right.
takes another few seconds
Right, right.
to pop up
Right.
on my device. So I think we've waited long enough. Let's get ready. Let's do it.
Good day, good day, good day. Today we have Hatton's Hardwood Floors. It's Cal. He's the founder of this operation, and he's also the founder of every hardwood joke known to man. How's it going, Cal?
Pretty good yourself.
Doing good, doing good. Well, thanks for joining us today. So let's hear a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Cal Hatton, hence the name Hatton's Hardwood Floors. I've been in the hardwood floor game for about 22 years now. Yeah, so if you need any hardwood related services, give us a shout.
Awesome, man. Yeah, so 22 years, man. So like, have you ever at any point in time been like, screw this, I don't want to do this anymore?
I think everybody has that in a lot of their careers, but it's been good to me. I enjoy what I do. Some days are more challenging than others, just as anybody's job would be. But again, I enjoy it, so I stick with it, and I'm thankful that I got into this career.
Right, right. So how would you say your passion has grown over the 22 years? Like, I mean, I'll just say for myself, I know that like with time, I've become really picky about what I do.
With what clients you deal with, or with?
I just mean like just in the hardwood itself, you know, the installation, you know, getting to manufacturer specs, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I guess over time it's wanting to do a better job, wanting to deal with better clients, wanting to use better products, and just evolve in the industry to become better.
Right.
Right, and hopefully set the bar. You know.
Totally. No, that's we're all about that. So what do you mean by better clients?
Sometimes you can get some clients or even quotes you go to that are just maybe not pre-qualified, things like that, that maybe they don't know enough, or maybe I'm not asking enough questions before I go to these jobs to look at them, to
Right.
find out what is it they're really wanting, what is it their budget, their timelines, things like that.
Right, right.
And it might save a bit of time from me driving to those estimates, and maybe even the client's time from having me over to maybe just maybe ask a bit more questions,
Gotcha.
educate them a little bit more, right?
Yeah, no, we do the same kind of thing. We pre-qualify people. I generally like to ask, like, you want to go cheap as possible? Because I mean, for ourselves, we're not really geared to be like the cheapest, because we have, you know, we do
Standards.
a lot of standards
Yeah,
and a lot
yeah.
of extra things.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's where we're at too. Is I try to be in the middle, but you still offer the top tier products and services. But I mean, there's always going to be somebody cheaper. And I tell people, if you're looking for the cheapest, if you're calling around, right off the bat, that's not me. I'm not just going to give myself away. But if there's a problem, I stand behind it, right? So I can afford to own up or pay for or fix or do whatever.
Well, from my understanding, hardwood is kind of a big deal, and you definitely don't want a guy that's, you know, running out of budget, cutting corners, right?
Fair enough, right? Hardwood is a luxury item, and properly maintained would last a lifetime. So yeah, if you hire the right people to do the job, they're not going to sand the life out of your floor in 2-3 sandings.
Yeah. So what would you say like a typical price range would be for somebody who's looking to get hardwood done in their house? I know it's a tough one.
I guess for the refinishing, the price ranges from say maybe $4 up to $8, and again depending on what type of a sanding and what products were being used and stuff like that. So there is a little bit of a variance in there, but and depending if it's a pre-finished product, if it came out of a box already done, typically it's a little bit more money, just because there's aluminum oxides and it takes longer to sand. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it's not just always so straightforward.
It's not just straightforward. No, it'd be like stripping off a roof. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 layers to it.
Right.
Where, you know, if you inspected it and you caught it, you know to price it accordingly, right? You know.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. So so I think you were saying that you had off cam there that you were a roofer before this.
So yeah, prior to getting into the hardwood industry, I was doing roof construction. My dad had a roof being done when I was about 16, and he volunteered me to help the guys that were doing the roof, and they were kind of shocked because not many people get the client's kid to volunteer to help them. And then after about 3 hours, they offered me a job.
No way.
During the summers, I'd be doing roofing with them and then going to school. Originally from Winnipeg, and then I came out here when I was 18. I did it for a while out here. A friend of mine worked at a big flooring outfit here, and offered me a position there, and I was looking just for a change. Just sometimes in the winter it could be challenging working out on a roof construction, right? So opportunity presented itself, and I went into the hardwood floor industry there and stayed there.
So it was the bitter cold of working on a roof that kind of threw you into the arms of hardwood.
Pretty much. I love working outside, and the summers were great, but again, it's more difficult in the winter time because you're shoveling off a roof. You're doing a lot of things that you're not getting paid for,
right?
Just so you can start your job, you know, and then get paid for. So sometimes you work a day, and it's just to get everything prepped for hopefully the next day to start applicating the shingles or whatever, right? So
true, and also a bit of a danger factor on top of it too.
Danger factor, yeah. Back when I was doing it, I'm a little bit older, but you didn't need a safety harness. It wasn't a requirement. I mean, if you had one, you're smart enough to wear it, but if not, a nylon rope sometimes worked, right? Through your belt loop. So
how much time did you have in roofing before you moved on to hardwood?
I did it for about 2.5 to 3, almost 3 years that I was doing the roofing for, and I enjoyed it. Again, I don't mind the physical work and being outside. I sometimes miss it, but
what do you miss about it?
Probably just being outside, and I don't like heights above maybe 4 or 5 stories, but I don't mind the 1-2 stories.
Yeah.
Keeps you on your toes, literally, right? And you're very conscious about what's going on around you for the most part, because one wrong step, right? And
right.
And you can get injured.
No, totally. Yeah, one bad step and your life has changed. But I mean, what's the interesting thing I found about flooring? Because I've done a little bit of flooring myself. I wasn't in the hardwood or anything, but I found that it's almost like they're transferable skills in a large degree.
In a sense, I think installing the hardwood is similar to installing a shingle in a sense. Do you know what I mean? You got a nailer. I use a nailer in the hardwood industry. Not so much pattern. Like a lot of the hardwood floors aren't necessarily the exact same size. So you're not dealing with a stair step or an overlap or what you guys doing in the roofing industry. But again, it's similar, right? Mark it, cut it, install it, and start straight.
What do you got for underlayments going on underneath that?
A lot of times we'll use like an aqua bar, which is a moisture barrier. It's like some guys back in the day used actually a roofing felt, and now there's like a wax paper moisture barrier. And there's also roll-on membranes now that you can roll on that'll help with moisture coming up through the subfloors and stuff.
So that's interesting because like hardwood before was a lifetime product to begin with, and now it's just getting better.
And there's different products out there now.
Yeah.
There's engineered hardwood floors, so that's structurally it's a little bit different, where there's different layers of plywood going in different directions to make it more structurally stable when you're dealing with a wide plank floor.
Okay. Right. So what kind of warranties do you offer with your hardwood?
Well, depending on the manufacturer warranty, I mean, if anything was to come loose due to poor installation or something, we'd stand behind our workmanship. When it comes to refinishing hardwood, it's a little bit challenging because if the dogs scratch it or if somebody drags a chair or animals have accidents on it, it's hard to warranty stuff like that.
Right.
But in terms of any delamination of the finish or poor application of the product, then we would stand behind it and deal with it accordingly and fix it.
So how long does your hardwood workmanship warranty go for?
I never really set a date on it. I mean,
Really?
honestly, I don't have a timeline on it, but I mean, I typically would, if something was to happen, it'd be within the first year, right? Same with you guys. Typically, if there's a leak, it's going to be within the first year, right? First few good rains or the snow melt, you're going to know if there was of an issue. But yeah, if somebody called me back 2-3 years later saying there's a problem with something, I just want to be one of those companies that's not a fly-by-night guy. I will stand behind what we do for our workmanship, you
Right.
know. But again, I can't warranty pets and other failures, right?
Right. So how would you fix like a pet mess? Like what would you do there?
We have a few in the before and after pictures there that there was a floor that we did recently that I'm assuming was a pet mess there. And with that particular one, we were able to change out the boards and install new. And then when we resanded the floor, you couldn't tell where that had happened or not, right? So it's brand new again. Some of them do sand out if they're just light ones, but there's a lot of acidity to it. So it'll really discolor those boards that you'd have to probably change them out.
Right.
Right.
You know, I think that pets are more partial to carpet though. Well, that's kind of what I've found anyway.
True, because I think a pet, typically a cat, more so would go on the carpet because I think it's absorbent and mom and dad aren't going to see it right away, right?
Right,
So,
right.
but it's harder to clean it off of out of a carpet. But again, if you have a hard surface everywhere and the cat or the animal has an accident, it's still on the floor somewhere, right? But with a hard surface, I find it easier to clean up. And if it's caught in time, it's not going to penetrate and damage the floors if you catch it in time, right? So,
You know, I think that like for me, I think that hardwood is like a more economical route over the long term than carpet.
correct. I 100% agree with you on that. I think initially the hardwood would be probably one of the more expensive options, but long term, the cheapest option because you're not, if it's a good product, you're not throwing that in the garbage. You're not replacing that. You're
Right.
resurfacing it. You're refinishing it, right? So, and from an environmental standpoint, I think it's environmentally friendly. Again, because you're not just making things, man-made things, and discarding things. I mean, we've done floors that are 100 years old and restored them, right? And it's nice to do that because you can take something that's old and has a lot of history to it and bring it back new again to last many more years.
Right. Yeah, that sounds about right. So, like in terms of like the actual wood itself, what would you say your preference is?
My personal preference, I like a narrow strip hardwood. I like a narrow strip solid hardwood. Typically in the older bungalows, Lake Bonavista, those type neighborhoods, 50s bungalows say, they got a narrow strip like an 1.5 inch red oak by 3/4 inch, even into a 2 1/4 by 3/4 inch. I like that because it's a solid hardwood. It is structurally stable because it's not a wide plank, and it can be resurfaced many times when properly done.
So when it comes to like things like I don't know much about this kind of stuff, but I mean like oak or anything like that. Like, is there like a type that?
Typically, we have a lot. So typically to our region, we get a lot of red oak, and then we get a lot of maple, right? A lot of our woods are going to come from typically the East Coast, typically out of Quebec. We're going to get a lot of the hardwoods out of there. A lot of the hardwood mills for us come out of Quebec and then and get shipped over to here. The softwoods, typically being like a fir, would come out of BC, right? So you don't see the firs as much anymore, but
Why not?
it is a softer floor in terms of the species, in terms of the hardness. The fir is a little bit of a softer floor. I don't know really why, but again, maybe it is just more common to see oaks and maples.
Right.
So,
Okay. So out of them all, which one is your preference, would you say?
I guess for different reasons, but I do like oak. And then there's a white oak, there's red oak, there's different oaks, but we work with a lot of red oaks, and so because I'm used to it, maybe I favor that a little bit more. I also like a third grade maple, which has got a lot of character. So it has more of a rustic look to it, and I think that one looks good too.
Okay.
Just personal preferences, right? So.
Right. So it's all, would you say it's all personal preference? Is there like a specific one you should stay away from?
I like exotics too, but exotics are very difficult to get these days just because there's a lot of illegal harvesting going out of South America and stuff like that. And that wood's not native to us, so typically it's gonna contract and expand differently because it's a wood from South America. So typically you could get a little bit more problems with those types of wood exotics.
Interesting.
But yeah, typically if you stuck to an oak or something like that, they're very structurally stable. They readily available, legally harvested, right?
Right.
Replenishing the forest after cutting down trees and stuff. So.
Yeah, that's just kind of a whole new angle to it all. Yeah, I don't know where they get the shingles from.
Fair, right? All right.
Petroleum or something.
Yeah, it'd be a byproduct of that somewhere down the line.
Okay, well let's move on to some of your photos you've taken here. We might have
Sure.
to do an adjustment on the brightness. So
this one's turned at a bit of an angle here, but so this one here is actually an exotic hardwood, and I didn't even Photoshop this one. I like this picture just because it's just the actual picture I took with an iPhone.
Okay, let's see.
And this species here is it's an exotic wood. It's a Brazilian cherry. It's very hard and it's naturally that color. So there's no color added to change the color.
Okay, well I'm just going to try to bring this to 50-50. Is this how it's kind of looking? Is it looking more?
I think typically in real life it does have a little bit more of a redder look to it, I guess.
So bring it back a little bit there.
Maybe a couple more ticks back there. Probably looks closer to that in real life.
Okay. Whoops. Okay. Yeah, it looks really nice.
Yeah, that was a fun project to do.
So how long would a project like this take, would you say?
That one was actually a fairly larger house in Bear's Paw, and so there was a few floors and flights of stairs done in there, and that one was probably about a week and a half, that particular job.
Okay.
They did have a bit of water damage in the kitchen, which was why we were initially hired, and we changed out some boards and then resurfaced the floor.
Okay.
This is one of our, this is what we call the big machine in our industry. This is the workhorse. This typically does most of the work on the jobs. So this will do the field, this will do the big open areas, right? You can see where it gets close to the walls to the left there. And then it's done with more of a smaller handheld tool. But this one here is the big machine that does the aggressive sanding. And then here you can notice that we have a HEPA filter built onto the top of it and a cyclone dust collection system. So it'll go down, so it filters the air, the dust from that filter there, and it goes down into a hose that runs into our vacuum system. And then in the vacuum system itself has HEPA filters. So we try to minimize the dust as much as possible for our own health, right? Because we're ingesting and breathing the stuff in as well. And secondary, the home.
Right. Totally. Yeah, no, safety first. And so I imagine getting around the corners is probably one of the most labor-intensive parts of the job.
Yeah, typically that's the newer guy or my youngest brother in that case. But yeah, you're bent over a little bit more running a tool, doing all the outside edges. And then it comes to hand tools when you get into the very corners. You're actually literally hand scraping all the corners.
Okay. All right. How long have you been working with your little brother for?
So there's a bit of an age difference between both. I have two brothers that both work with me. My one brother, I think he's been with me for about 16 years.
Oh yeah.
And the other one for about 5, I'm going to guess, somewhere thereabouts.
So it's kind of a family business in a way.
Family business, right?
Yeah.
I call us kind of the mom and pop shop. My wife is behind the scenes that does a lot of the admin paperwork. She's a junior accountant and bookkeeper by trade.
Okay.
So she kind of
wow.
keeps everything
Perfect.
going behind the scenes. I'm kind of the face to the company, similar to how you are. And I'm the guy on site doing all the quotes, delivering all the materials, right? And I'll even get onto the tools as well, time permitting. I actually like to get on the job and grab onto the old machine when I can.
Right.
I find it rewarding to take a floor like that and strip it down, right? You can see taking off the old stuff and coming back down to raw wood is pretty satisfying.
That's, I mean, I kind of get what you're saying there. Oh.
So this particular machine is another machine. So this one's like a polisher that we use. This one's a heavy duty one by a brand called Bona. It's one of the industry leaders in terms of some of the equipment that we use and some of the finishes and stains. And again, this one's just to show that this is one of my brothers here. This is just to show that all of our tools are hooked up to a vacuum system. So when we try to say that we run dustless sanding, that we're running, again, as much as possible for our own health and secondary the home.
Right.
So after that big machine that does all the aggressive stripping and that, this will come and start to do the fine sanding and really flatten the floors out and get out some of the scratches from the last machine and yeah. So this is a nice tool.
So he's trying to keep things level right now, like.
Yeah, so this machine's doing 2 things. It's polishing and getting rid of some of the lines. Every time you sand something, you're putting a scratch into that surface. So when you're using that big machine, you're putting a scratch into it. And this one takes the scratches out and makes a finer scratch. And this really levels the floor out. You can actually see there's kind of horseshoe shaped weights onto that machine just on the bottom in front of the light system there. So you can put the weights on or take the weights off depending on what you want to do. So if we want to really flatten that floor, there's those weights that are on there.
So I mean, I assume there's enough room for like 2 more on there?
There's another weight kit that can go onto there. I like the light on there as well because it'll really reflect and it'll kind of show you as for what's going on and what scratches it's making or taking out. But again, every time you sand something, you're putting a scratch into it and you're using a finer grit each time to get the last grit out.
So how many times you got to go over the floor with this guy?
Typically we'd go over the floors with this guy twice. So 2 different sanding grits would be used with this machine.
Okay.
So this is just getting it flatter and smoother is what this machine typically does.
Flattener, smoother.
Yeah. This is the same job. I wanted to bring this one. This one's the same job as that Brazilian cherry we talked about earlier.
Oh yeah.
But just with people's pets onto that. This was these people were really fun to work with, and you become friends with your clients. You know what I mean? Because we're there a week and a half or so and stuff like that. And
When you're actually in their house.
and we're in their house, yeah. So we're in their space, and you know you get to talking to them, and I'm pretty chatty, so. It was good to work with these people, but they had these 2 dogs. There might be a picture later on, but they had a rabbit, and the rabbit just ran wild around the house, right? And it was
cool.
kind of neat to see. Yeah, the rabbit was litter trained and everything else, so the rabbit just did its own thing. And they had a cat, and all the animals got along. So it was
neat.
And that's what I like about my job is you don't know who you're going to meet in terms of people, what kind of house, what kind of pets they have. You get to see a bit of everything, right? So,
Yeah, it's a pretty intimate relationship for sure.
I think so, right? Yeah. And I like that, and it's mostly for the good. Sometimes you get some different people you work with, but yeah.
Oh yeah, it happens.
Right. We might see another animal picture here. So here's a deck we did. We don't do a whole lot of decks all the time, but here's a deck that we did early last year, and so this is a cedar deck. So if we do sand somebody's deck, it would typically be a cedar deck because it's worth sanding. Typically, people aren't going to get me to sand a pine or a pressure treated deck. It's sometimes sometimes more affordable, although lumber costs are up, to just replace it.
Lumber costs insane.
It's insane. But with this particular deck, it's fairly large. Even where I'm standing, it probably goes behind me another 15, 20 feet behind me, right? So I wanted to bring this picture just to show that, again, it's so satisfying to do a before and after, to see how weathered and destroyed it looked, and without replacing it, we just resurfaced
That
it.
looks so nice. Yeah, it's like the neighbors probably saying, "Oh, you got a new deck."
That's what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I enjoyed that one. Again, that was a really neat homeowner. I became friends with him. So
So it kind of looks like they painted it before.
there was a stain on it, so it's a penetrating stain onto it. But again, over the years, it starts to weather and flake off and stuff like that. It's hard to keep stuff exterior from not wearing, right? And what really pushed them to do it is he took the snowblower, because it's such a large deck. He took the snowblower the season prior, and when he drove it, one of the sides of the blade or sides of the bucket of the snowblower really carved in and gouged it, kind of probably where I'm standing, I guess. And so that was unsightly, and he wanted it resurfaced, and so we were able to do that. And I thought it turned out really good.
Okay. How are these images appearing there, Brody?
They're looking really good. TV's looking good.
Nice.
Everything's coming across nicely.
Okay, great. So how would you say this would weather? Like, is it going to weather the exact same as the other side?
It will. Over time, it will. Again, it's a penetrating finish that's on there. That brand is called Cetal. And it's a good product, but again, it's just maintenance, and it's just keeping stuff outside. The weather really kills stuff, right?
Oh yeah,
You know, even a 25-year shingle or whatever it is, it's still right. The sun bakes it, dries it out. So I guess the key to something like that is to keep on it and try to every couple of years maybe get it recoated, as opposed to waiting before it gets to the before picture here and getting until it's totally gone.
gotcha.
Right? Is just upkeep. Hey, let's do a preventative maintenance coat onto it, right?
Okay. Yeah. So you're saying, would you say it'd be cheaper in the long run to do something like that?
To do the maintenance coats on it, yeah, because it doesn't take long. I think it'd be a half a day to go do something like that. And say maybe, again, that's a very large deck, but say a deck like that, maybe about $1,000 to $1,500 with the materials to re-oil the deck, as opposed to re-sanding the deck.
Okay.
You know, like.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that makes sense too.
Again, it's just maintenance. Here's a job we did. This is an engineered floor, so we took the boards. It's a wide plank engineered floor, walnut, and we took the boards and mitered them and made the nosings out of them, made the stair treads out of the hardwood floor product itself. So it was 100% match. So it wasn't, you didn't buy an extra nosing or something that was a corresponding. That's a 50 to 80% match. This is made out of the wood itself, and it's more of a modern style with that square edge profile.
That looks like a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, and I thought it turned out really good.
No, it looks really nice.
Thanks. This one here, actually, I was telling the deck that we had done earlier there. I became friends with the guy, and this was a basement in a basement. So you can, it's a fairly nice home, and which was a really interesting job, because prior to this, it was just somebody had some indoor-outdoor carpet down there, and it was like a golf simulator type area.
Oh yeah.
And he had torn it all apart, and then we ended up doing, so this is a maple floor. So he ended up tearing it all out, and we put a subfloor down in there and supplied and installed all the hardwood, sanded it, did the game lines as if it was a basketball court or a school gymnasium. And I believe that's a pickleball court, those triangular ones, and you have this kind of a stick that you slide these discs across and try to land in those numbers.
So I imagine the casing had to come off, hey?
So that's all new baseboard. Actually, we did all the baseboard into there as well. So sometimes clients, if they need baseboards or trims or casings like stuff like that, then we offer that service as well. We don't do any painting or things of that nature, like of walls, but in this particular case, that we did the baseboards, all the flooring and stuff like that. So this is pretty neat because he's got a soccer thing in there, right? basketball, pickleball.
Okay.
So this one's an after picture. If we find a before one, and I tried to put them in sequence before, but I guess they...
And we're going backwards, unfortunately.
I see. So then, so this one's a before picture, and that job wasn't that far from here. We didn't do the baseboards into this particular job, but they were looking at getting this floor refinished because they were moving. So what we did prior to start even sanding, we filled, so some of that putty looking stuff is some of the filler that we initially went over the floor to fill in some of the larger voids. But you can see how heavily worn that floor out that is, right? In the high traffic areas. So again, we filled some of the larger voids prior, and then we'll fill the voids in between. Once we're done the aggressive sanding, we'll fill the whole floor before we start fine sanding it. And then when you get to the second picture, you'll see the after picture to see how nice that it actually turned out. So again, like this house is probably built in 1958, somewhere thereabouts. And to take an old floor that's been heavily used and everything else to bring it back to life, right? I find it rewarding and
yeah, it looks way better.
Way better, right? And so they chose a natural color here, so we went with a very light color. Makes the house feel a lot brighter and airier. And they listed the house for sale right after. That's why they did the floors, because they were selling the home. And
makes sense. So would you say, like, I mean, so I'm assuming that refinishing the floor can to a degree extend the life.
It'll extend the life out of it, because once it starts getting gray and discolored like the prior picture, there's no finish left onto that area. So what's causing that gray discoloration is oils from your feet and water from cleaning the floor. But what's funny is I never really paid attention, but when you look back, when you just go back out, zoom out a second there, you'll see how they walked. You know what I mean? So I think the bathroom is to the well, they were walking to the first bedroom to the right, and then to the bathroom to the left, and looked like the back, right? It looks like they had
a couple shots,
path, right? Yeah, you can tell the path that they walked a lot. But again, there's nothing protecting that floor or sealing that floor other than the oils from people's feet discoloring it and giving it that gray look.
Gross.
So this one's an after picture again, but if we could try to find the before one, again, we're going backwards in sequence, how we loaded it. So this one here, I'm assuming it's a pet stain. I don't know. We were just called to the job. These people are trying to sell this home. So we were called to this particular job, and we replaced that section of wood out because it was heavily stained, and sanding it would probably still have a little bit of a discoloration, especially if it was a urine. You're going to have a lot of acidity into there and stuff. So
that stain being to the far corner there, is that a much easier fix than say if it was in the center of it all?
It's a little bit easier just because you're just cutting it from one side of the hardwood and then just running it to the wall. But it's still a little tricky, and this particular floor is on a 45-degree angle. But if it was in the middle of the floor, we still do a lot of repairs like this, right? So
okay.
So again, we changed these boards out. So we cut these boards out and we supplied and installed new. And so when you reference back to that area, you can't tell, right? And I think that's one of our claims to fame is doing stuff like this, is to salvaging floors and replacing things that need to be and making it not look like a repair or a renovation, right?
Right. No, that looks really good. Yeah, man. No, man, you can tell you're a pro. Like, this is... I every time I see these, it's almost like people are coming in probably thinking they got a new floor.
They got a new floor, right? Yeah, ripped it all out. But again, this is probably a 25, 30-year-old home and looks brand new again.
So what do you do when you come across, I don't know, laminate? Is that just garbage after, like, something like this?
Unfortunately, typically it is. The older laminate has an HDF core to it, and typically if that gets wet, it'll just swell and pucker the seams. And I can't sand it. It's a man-made product. It's a plastic layer. Laminate is good in terms of scratch resistant, but the newer laminates they're coming out with does have a a water resistant and some of them a waterproof core, right? So
Are they? Can you refinish a laminate floor?
you could put like a top layer of finish on it. There are special products that you could apply a layer of a coating if you wanted to change the sheen or maybe add some protective wear layers to it. But to actually sand it or to resurface it or to change anything on it, no, you'd have to put a new floor like a vinyl plank or something like that, possibly over top.
Oh, you can do over top. Okay.
You could go over top, right? In some applications.
So I know with flat roofing, you're allowed to do one reclamation.
Okay.
You
To
can
go
go-
over top of one layer of flat roofing.
Yeah, just by
I see.
code. Yeah, you're allowed to do it
Okay.
by manufacturer specs. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Actually, I don't know if it's Alberta Building Code, that one, but anyway, I digress.
Okay.
Okay,
That's as much as my pictures.
we're at the end here, I
Yeah.
think. Okay. Well, that was an interesting little hardwood journey that we've went through there.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely learned a thing or two. So outside of hardwood flooring, you got what kind of hobbies and interests you got?
I do have 3 children, so they keep me busy and my wife busy with taking them to soccer and other events and school activities they have. Outside of that, I enjoy dirt biking and snowmobiling, so things with an engine. I love I love that. So when I leave here today, I'm probably going to gear up and get ready to head to Golden first thing in the morning.
Dirt biking, you can get pretty, messed up doing something like that. Have you ever been injured?
When I was a kid, I got stitches in my bottom lip, and I got a scar from that, but not overly. But I'm not at the motocross track doing
Anything too
100-foot
crazy.
jumps and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, right? I mean, but I just enjoy the single track out at McLean Creek and those types of areas, and just getting out and cruising around and stuff like that, right? So.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people try to get me dirt biking, and I've never taken them up on it.
No,
Yeah.
that's good to try. If you're in an open area or something like that, it's a good skill to learn, right? It's you might enjoy it, right? And start off with a smaller bike that you're going to enjoy, not scare the pants off you and potentially injure yourself.
For sure, yeah. Where would you say, like, for dirt biking, like, where's a place that you haven't gone that you want to go?
I see friends of mine are at Kukanusa somewhere going dirt biking and stuff, and I've not been there, but I see they got a lot of nice tracks, and I'd like to see what's out there and just venture around and check out the scenery around there as well, because I'm not familiar with that area.
Whereabouts is that?
Lake Kukanusa,
Is that in Alberta?
somewhere there, more BC, I think, and it's going into the lake goes into the U.S. as well, right? So there's a Canadian side and the U.S. side.
Oh, okay.
So again, I'm not familiar with it, but I'd like to see what it is. I heard it's a nice, clean, large lake, and there's not many of them around, especially in Alberta, right? So
Right. Yeah. So we just got the dirty old Lake McGregor.
ponds and stuff like that, right? So again, I'm from Winnipeg, so we have a lot of lakes there, but here not so much. But we have the mountains,
Yeah.
right? So I'll take the mountains, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
What again brought you out from Winnipeg to here?
To be honest with you, the land of opportunity. When I was there, the summers are great, the winters are cold and long, but just the work opportunity was here, and I just like it here. I think like I saw a commercial back when I was there when I was about 16, 17, and it was of two women that started up I think it was A1 Pooper Scooper, and I saw a commercial for it, and I thought, if somebody could start a business like that and survive or thrive, I can go there and do anything, and that was one of my driving factors to come here, was thinking, man, I could, if I work hard, I can thrive,
This commercial brought you here. That is funny.
A commercial, yeah.
When we were like, I think it was like 16 or something like that, and we saw a commercial of like beautiful British Columbia, and
see that.
come out here. And I was like, my friends were just all of a sudden, we're going to BC.
Yeah.
We went and we did this big like one week tour. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Sleeping in a car. It was so dirty by the time we got back. But,
Yeah.
but that's interesting how a commercial can
A commercial, right? Yeah.
bring you out and do something.
Advertising works.
Yeah, right?
Right.
Well, no regrets. Obviously, it was true. You know.
Yeah, no regrets. Again, I'm thankful for coming out here. I love Alberta. I find it to be a really, especially Calgary, and that is a really clean city to live in. And again, the land of opportunity for me. You know, if you work hard, and it's been good to us. I'm blessed.
Well, sometimes I'm so bold or biased to say I think that Calgary is like the best city in the world. I don't know why.
I think so, but maybe I haven't gotten out enough. But
Yeah.
but again, we got pretty good weather. We got the mountains, you know, and it's clean and safe.
A lot of sunshine
Right?
too.
A lot of sunshine, but it's safe here. It's a safe country.
Yeah.
It's a fairly safe city, I find. Yeah, I enjoy it here.
Yeah, me too. Well, I think we had some shout outs there for you. Who are you thinking of shouting
I was
out?
going to give a shout out to a few of the contractors that I do some work with. One is a friend of mine, Wayne, over with Interiors with Elegance. He hires me mostly for a lot of his flooring projects, and I work a lot with him. I do some jobs with the Woolrich Group. They're a renovation company. I enjoy working with them. I do some work with Chloe over at Create Developments. They're a renovation company. I do some work with them. So yeah, I just thought I'd do a shout out to those people just to give back from networking and giving us some work, right? So yeah.
Great. Well, hey, well, maybe we can try to squeeze them into the podcast. You never know.
You
right?
never know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, give them a shout, or if they're looking for a roofer or something like that, I wouldn't hesitate to refer you guys.
Oh, hey, appreciate it.
And if you wanted to, give them a shout, and they're great to work with. You always want to work with people that pay their bills, right? First and foremost. We won't go into a different podcast that people don't.
Yeah.
I got a list of that too.
Hey, no, agree 100%.
Right.
So, any charity in particular?
We try to switch it up once in a while, but the last charity we did would have been the SPCA. We try to give back, right? And those are animals that can't help themselves, right? So we try to give some love to them and prolong their life and hopefully get rehomed and stuff like that. We used to foster cats ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
We rescued a dog and a cat, and those are our pets.
Cool.
So yeah.
I don't think I could foster cats. I would be the crazy cat man.
Oh, you'd be the crazy cat man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we already had 3 when we were fostering them, so we already had a handful. And so to take on more, you just knew that they were coming here for their short stay and then moving on to a new home and a good home, right? So you felt good about doing that.
Right.
But yeah, cats are pretty cool.
How would you know it's going to a good home?
Well, we just volunteered for an organization, and they would do the screening and stuff for those people. So it wasn't me finding cats and rescuing them off the street and trying to rehome them myself, typically. So I would assume the organization would look into it and pre-screen people and pre-qualify and make sure that their landlords know that they're getting a pet or things of that nature. You know what I mean? Rather than just here you go, because then it's just going to get back into the system again, or worst case, somebody just leave it outside and abandon it.
Right.
So
yeah, it's pretty hurting when that happens.
it is, right? And unfortunately it does, but yeah.
Well, that's really great. Again, thanks for coming along and sharing all this great work you do, and we definitely won't be hesitating to recommend you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah.
But okay, well, and thank you all for coming to watch us today on this podcast. Hey, don't forget to give us a like, a subscribe on YouTube. Also, Cal here has a pretty sweet Instagram page, so I recommend checking that out. And yeah, keep supporting local. Bye for now.